Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Fox with West 2 News and West.com, and this is another in our series of debates, this Commitment 2026 midterm election year. We've got a lot of races on tap, and today we're dealing with the Congress District 6 and talking to the Democrats in that race. First, we're going to give you an idea of exactly where this territory is for District 6. It starts in Daytona Beach, spreads north and west to Ocala and over to St. Augustine. It includes North Volusia, Northern Lake, Eastern Marion, all of Flagler and Putnam, and part of St. Johns counties. Right now, the district is held by Randy Fine, a Republican who was elected last year in a special election. And of course, one of these men hopes to be the Democratic challenger to whoever comes out of that Republican primary in that race. Let's tell you who they are. Steve Morgan, Robert Cooper, Ron Murchison Rivera, and Eric Yonce. Gentlemen, thanks very much for being here so that you can share your ideas and voters can get to know you a whole lot better. First, we're going to give you each 1 minute to give an opening statement. And we're going to start with Mr. Yonce.
All right. Florida District 6 has been divided, used, and forgotten for far too long. We have people working 2 to 3 jobs just to afford the basics like gas and groceries. We have seniors and veterans who have worked hard their entire lives that are now being forced to choose between medicine and their mortgages. My priorities are clear. We need the government to be accountable to the people. Gas, groceries, healthcare, and insurance are all too unaffordable because this administration and that government has forgotten who they work for. Second is to bring our money back home. Our tax dollars should be going for local affordable housing, local job creation, our local school organizations, building our roads and bridges and infrastructure. Third, protect Florida's future by stopping the reckless AI data center development before it overwhelms our water supply, drives up our electricity costs, and just ruins the state of Florida as we know it. We need leaders who put this district first and put people ahead of politics. I am Eric Yonce, the representative that will fight for District 6.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Morgan, 1 minute.
My name is Steve Morgan. I'm running for political office for the first time in my life. I am the Democrat who can and will defeat Randy Fine in the general election. I'm doing this because I got tired of the divisiveness and the partisanship that we're hearing in our political discourse. I'm running on a platform of balancing the budget, increasing affordability for the voters, and also treating both one another as well as the opposition with respect. A little bit about myself. I have a bachelor's degree from Duke University with a major in political science. I have a law degree from the University of Tennessee and also an MBA from Anderson School at UCLA. I am a brewer by profession, so my full-time job, in addition to this full-time job, is running Alcatraz Brewing, which is distributed statewide throughout our state. And I actually live in District 6, as do these gentlemen as well, whereas the incumbent Randy Fine does not. And I welcome the opportunity to have a wonderful and vigorous debate today.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Murchison Rivera, please tell us about yourself.
Thank you. My name is Ronnie Murchison Rivera, as Greg said. My entire life I've served the public and the community in which I lived in. I started off at a young age serving the community in my church. As I got older, I became an EMS. I worked there for over 10 to 15 years. In between it, I started a nonprofit to help out families. And I also volunteered and got elected to school boards and PTA Association. I moved down to Florida in 2010 because I chose Florida to be my home. And I continued to serve my community, and I got into law enforcement for over almost a decade. Public service has been my entire life. And I see a problem that's happening in this community with this administration and what's going on. And I stood up and decided to take this fight on to better our community. A lot of people are struggling right now. A lot of things are happening. And we need a real fighter in it that's been serving the public his entire life with a track record has been proven that he can get things done. And I believe I'm that best person, Greg.
All right, Mr. Cooper, by process of elimination, your 1 minute statement, please.
Yes, sir, thank you. I'm Rob Cooper. And first of all, I shouldn't be standing right here. And the reason why I say I shouldn't be standing right here is because I had to go through some challenges in my past. And one of those challenges was substance use. And that almost took my life, but I fought. And then too is that when I served in the Marine Corps, I fought into Iraq. and that should have had took my life. But, you know, I'm standing here because I want to fight for the people of Florida's 6th District. And so, and I did that in so many ways that when I was struggling with substance use, I started a nonprofit to go back and get people that are struggling with the same exact thing that I was struggling with. And then when I was in Iraq, I made sure that I fought in a different way, was make sure that the men and women that was on the battlefield, that they had a fresh, hot meal. And then that's what I want to do right now for the people in Florida 6th District is I want to fight for you. I want to fight to lower the cost of living. I want to fight for veterans and veterans that's struggling with mental health and substance use. I want to fight for our seniors and protect the Social Security and Medicare. And that's what I would do when I get elected day one, is fight for the people.
Gentlemen, thank you for your opening statements. I want to get to know you and your priorities a little bit better. Many people have agendas as they go to DC. They have maybe passionate causes that they like to fight for especially. I want to find out the first bill you would file and what your biggest priority is going to be if you are the ones sent to Washington. We're going to start with Mr. Morgan.
So the first bill that I would file would be to codify the emoluments clause of the Constitution. We're seeing an enormous amount of corruption and graft in this current administration, and we need to get to a point where people are not allowed to trade individual stocks if you're a federally elected official. We need to have a situation where there are consequences for people who are abusing the system, awarding contracts to their family members, awarding no-bid contracts. And this is something that can be done through a congressional bill. I would be happy to sponsor that and working with someone across the aisle and to get that through committee and get it out on the floor. I think it's something that's desperately needed right now.
All right, Mr. Cooper, what's your priority? What would you file first?
Thank you, Greg, for the question. And one thing that I have a people over politics agenda. And that people over politics agenda is, like I said, lower the cost of living for working families. And then two is that strengthen the opportunities for veterans and our seniors. And then that is put people ahead of partisan politics. I know that there's a piece of legislation that's right now haven't been signed by the president, and that's the 21st Century Affordable Housing Act. And I will make sure that whatever's in that piece of legislation, that it gets down to the district, and make sure that we do put some affordable housing, make sure that our residents become first-time home buyers, because we have people that want that American dream, but they can't see it. And I want to help them see and get to that American dream of becoming a first-time home buyer. And then two is lowering that cost of living. We need transparency within corporate. I want corporate to be transparent and have a dashboard that let the people know when they're moving up the prices and not hiding it, and somebody walk in Walmart and see that their favorite item is $2 or $3 more. We need that transparency for the American people.
All right, thank you. Mr. Murchison Rivera, your priority.
Thank you for the question. There's a lot of priorities that I have, but my number one priority is always going to be healthcare. I believe we can help people lower their gas prices. We can help them get a new home and everything like that. But my passion is EMS. I saw people not wake up the next day because they decided not to go to the hospital or see their doctor because they can't afford it. I think in order to enjoy those things, you have to be around to enjoy those things. I'm very passionate. I think health should be a right. And so one of my first bills is to strengthen that and push forward towards Medicare for all kind of stands. For right now, until we get to that point, I think we can push some of those credits that we have been taken away from us back to alleviate some of those struggles that some of these families are facing to pay for those healthcare costs.
All right, Mr. Yonce, your priority.
Yes, sir. So there are a lot of priorities that we need to tackle. I think the biggest thing up front is the money that's behind our politics. That is Citizens United and tackling that, tackling stock trading, tackling the lobbying loop. We will never make real substantive change within our society until we get the money that is funding and funneling behind our politicians right now.
Okay. I want to pick up again and get all of your take on a little bit more on what Mr. Murchison Rivera was talking about. Many people we have talked with who had been relying on Obamacare and now are faced this calendar year with some of the highest premiums they've ever seen, and some of them going without it. As you know, here in Florida, they have not opted in for Medicaid. So there are a lot of healthcare challenges on that Mr. Cooper, tell me how you would approach healthcare in particular to make it more affordable.
Thank you for the question, Greg. And really, healthcare is something that American people need, and it's the people of the Florida 6th District need. And yes, you are correct. I can recall when Governor DeSantis sent back all that Medicaid money and then dropped 300,000 people off Medicaid. And then I think about my own house, is that when they changed the subsidies and took that out, my wife, she was on the Affordable Care Act, and her premium went up to $1,000 or almost $2,000 a month. And so when I get to DC, that's one thing that I would work towards, is making sure that we can come to some type of agreement so people can have insurance and not argue about it, because you don't understand that when you need insurance and it's not readily available. In my own life, is because the Affordable Care Act and because what President Obama has done, that allowed me as a veteran to be able to really use the VA system, and it saved my life twice. So I understand that process, and I'm gonna fight hard to make sure that the people in Florida 6th District does have insurance, because what I don't want to hear is somebody telling me that I have to avoid going to the emergency room or avoid getting sick because I can't afford to pay that price.
All right, thank you. Mr. Yonce, continuing on this conversation, can this fix or more affordability get done unless Democrats take back control of at least the House?
We need to take back control of the House. We do need to work towards what that big, beautiful bill took away from us. The ACA credits is one of them. We need to bring those back to at least provide some cost reduction for everyone, but then it's also working together and working on what a new healthcare system looks like. Is that Medicare for all? There's also some other opportunities and other examples across the world that we can look at. We're gonna be up for a battle, and it's gonna be a long process of working through the insurance corporations that have basically taken control of our healthcare. The number one reason for bankruptcy in the United States is because of medical debt. And we should not have people going into debt just because they can't afford something as a skin cancer operation or whatever it may be. We need to have access for healthcare for everyone.
Mr. Murchison, Rivera, can it be done unless Democrats take back at least the House?
Well, it can be done right now. We don't have to wait back to the House. We just got to get people who really cares about actual people and not themselves. We need to work towards, I believe, the single payer Medicare for all system, because it gives people a layer of protection if they get unemployed, anything like that. I've seen it. I worked in it for many years of people struggling just to get to the hospital, like I just told you before. So anything can actually be done, but we just got to get the people in Washington that actually cares for the people, that has a drive and a will to make it get done.
Mr. Morgan, what's the fix?
Well, the short answer is, to your question, is that it cannot be done without the House taking back, without the Democrats taking back the House. There's simply no doubt about that. In addition to that, we're going to need enough Democratic senators and enough like-minded Republican senators to overcome a potential filibuster. But I think, to allude to a couple of the previous answers, we do need to get back to where we were with the Affordable Care Act, which means that we need to repeal the bodaciously bad bill that Trump passed. We looked at $1.1 trillion in cuts. So we saw SNAP benefits, which are food stamps, reduced, Medicare reduced, Medicaid reduced. We do need a single payer system, but we're not going to be able to do that without getting back the House. And this race has become so much more important because of the Supreme Court decision in the Alabama case. And so now what's happening is there's a lot of gerrymandering in the South, and it's going to be races like ours that are going to make the difference as to whether we can take the House back or not.
All right, let's turn to the economy right now. In Congress District 6, the median household income is $63,000 a year. That's $14,000 a year below the Florida average, and it's $20,000 a year below the national average. People are looking for a turnaround. When you're struggling to buy eggs and bread, you know that there's something wrong. Mr. Murchison, Rivera, why don't you start this conversation? What exactly is the fix? Everybody likes to use the word affordability. I don't hear a lot of solutions.
The number one solution is giving people an affordable wage to live. I think that's the number one thing. People are working 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet. It shouldn't be like that. It should be able to work one job and be able to afford the basic needs that your family wants. Working 2 to 3 jobs and on top of childcare, on top of all that stuff, while also making only $13 an hour in some places, people can't live off of that, and that's why they're struggling right now. And that's why we in the economy that we're in right now, because people are not giving back to the economy because they got nothing to give. People are losing their 401ks, their savings. We have gas prices going up. All of this is all trickling down on top of people working 5 to 6 jobs. So that's one of the solutions we need to work towards.
Mr. Morgan.
So, Greg, your question is a good one, and I've read the same numbers, and it is fascinating. I mean, we're literally $20,000 per household below what is needed for a reasonable standard of living. One of the things that we need to be looking at is the tax code, and I know that seems like maybe not the first place most people would go with this answer, but the fact of the matter is that over the last 20 or 30 years, we've reduced the payments for the wealthiest people in the United States from a maximum of 70% down to 37%. At the same time, the average billionaire and corporation is paying 7.2% of their income in federal taxation. The average middle income household in the United States is paying 14.7%, twice as much. If we can just change the tax code where it redistributes the wealth in a progressive way that it was originally intended to do, we could have a dramatic increase in affordability of healthcare by just simply cutting the federal tax burden. People who are paying at the lowest level are also paying payroll taxes, which are like doubled in the last 20 or 30 years. So those benefits would dramatically change the situation for people that are not making as much.
Mr. Yonce, is it the tax code or something else, or a combination of things?
Tax code is a part of it. Wages are a part of it. But let's look and see what our communities are facing right now. The tariffs that have been put in place, those are having a huge impact in our communities. Impact on prices at the grocery store, impact that our farmers are paying. We have a very rural a very rural district, a lot of farmers. And the fact that they are paying extra for fertilizer, for fuel, we need to take back our power in Congress and really fight against and bring back who controls the purse and who controls who or where we're applying tariffs. That's going to be the first thing to really affect the cost that we're seeing.
All right, Mr. Cooper.
Yes, sir. And Greg, and thank you for that question. There's a lot of candidates that talk about affordability, but I'm not running to pass Democratic bills, Republican bills. I'm running to pass bills that will lower the cost of living and lower your bills back in the Florida 6th District, and I understand that struggle. And I had to get on food stamps, so I understand that, but I worked my way, I fought my way up. And that's what I want to do. And how we're going to get there is by working with Republicans, independents, whoever, to make sure that we can lower this cost. And like I said, we got to have some transparency. As a congressman, I cannot go to Walmart and say lower your prices, but I can make sure that there's some transparency to the people of Florida 6th District. And then two is, you are correct about jobs. There need to be more jobs. The $15 minimum wage should have been $15 20 years ago. Right now, we're seeing that everything went up and wages stay the same. And right now, we need to get those wages up where people can have that chance to make that, to lower their own cost of living and have that chance to live out there.
All right, we'll get back to wages in a second, but several of you mentioned housing costs. And right now, the average cost of a home across District 6 is $324,000. The home ownership rate is 75%, which is considered very strong. Okay, but 25%, roughly 200,000 people in the district are struggling with rent approaching $2,000 a month. You talk to the developers, they say, take away all those rules and we'll build like crazy and then the rates will come down. And then you talk to people who are obviously concerned about the environment, and they'll tell you that if you do that, instead of going in urban, which we can't really do in a spread out state, that would be a better solution. So it doesn't sound like there's a lot of agreement there. So I guess I would want to know, Mr. Cooper, we'll continue on with you. What exactly do we do to lower housing prices other than say we need to lower housing prices and we need to lower rent?
Great question. And we have a demand for housing. And that's why I was so happy to see that there was bipartisan legislation that passed on this issue, where Republicans and Democrats came together to say, hey, we need to try to tackle this problem. And I have seen it day to day. I have worked with people, and I have sit down with them and try to find housing for them. And sometimes that their income was not enough. Sometimes that they didn't have all the money at the front end to get inside, to get into the housing. So how do we fix that is we have to get with these builders, and we have to say, you're building all this, you're building all these houses around here. What are you going to do for affordable housing? And I have been doing that. Every time I see a housing company or a big builder, I ask them, what is your process of making people become first-time home buyers? And there are some builders out there that do have programs. And then one thing too, Greg, we have to do is that there are some great organizations out there, nonprofits, and there are some organizations out there that will teach people financial literacy and will help them get into housing. And so we need to send money and strengthen those programs, because sometimes people don't have the credit, and then we fight against the interest rates. We need to get those back down to have people become first-time home buyer.
All right, Mr. Morgan, you go ahead and continuing on what Mr. Cooper was saying, a lot of people, when you start talking about things like potentially subsidizing to create housing opportunity, some people consider that a slippery slope, in particular conservatives who would argue that's not the way to go. What do you think?
That is not the way to go. Subsidies are not the answer. The first thing that we need to address, the gorilla in the room, is the inflation. Inflation is causing mortgage rates to go up. Mortgage rates are causing the affordability, the ability for people to buy homes to go down. So Congress has to do its job, and that's one of the things that I would do if elected to be our congressperson for this district. Congress needs to take back the tariff authority, which the president does not have the authority to do. And Congress needs to also get back into the war situation. You cannot continue a war, and you cannot continue spending hundreds and billions of dollars when you don't actually have the authority to declare war. That's upon Congress. The other piece of this that I think is very important is that we've got rampant overdevelopment in Florida, and we don't have enough affordable housing, and we don't build the infrastructure before we put the housing developments in. And so there needs to be a more codified, measured response that affordable housing goes in before new housing developments go in, and the infrastructure goes in before the new housing development goes in.
All right, Mr. Murchison Rivera, your take on this.
I totally disagree. I think subsidies do work. I'm a product of that subsidy, growing up in public housing most of my life. But we also need to hold these developers accountable, and not only the developers, but the state. We give them all this money, and they promise all these things, and then they'll renege once the building is done. I think we need more affordable housing for working class people. We need to make sure that a certain percentage of the building that's going on now is directed towards people who are just trying to come up from the bottom and live that American dream. But I also think we need to let the local municipalities and cities gain control back on the decisions they make that's happening inside of their areas, because right now, most of that control is with the state, and they're trying to take a lot of that away. And then we just need to keep working and giving people the chance just to buy affordable housing. Getting rid of, one of the big things I want to do when I get to Congress is get rid of the credit for buying a home. I think that the credit should determine.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it, because people struggling. Medical debt is one of the highest things right now. That affects your credit. That doesn't mean you don't have the job or the money to afford a home.
All right, Mr. Yonce, what's the solution here?
It's going to be tough. We have a overdevelopment issue within the state. We have a home rule issue within the state. And we also have the fact that people just can't afford. The average wage, like you said, at $63,000, you break that down to just the normal everyday costs, you can't afford a $2,000 rent. The housing bill that is sitting there stalled right now would be a step. It's not the full thing, but it would at least be a step to promote, because that bill does have deregulation for redevelopment of our downtown corridors. It does have provisions to at least do some of this infill development in a positive way to help in blighted areas and help kind of promote some type of housing where we need to rise up instead of the sprawl that we're seeing across our communities right now. Now that needs to go further. Now we should have some type of rent control measures. We have families right now, veterans and seniors, that can't even afford their trailer park rent rates because they're being priced out and they're on a fixed income. So we need some type of control measures so that way this stuff's not happening.
All right, I said that I was going to get back to wages, so I'm going to make this a 30-second answer. I just want to get through it and move on. Obviously, right now, Florida has been in a 5-year escalation for a minimum wage that will attain $15 an hour this September. Obviously, the federal minimum wage trails way behind that, okay, and we know that. I'm just going to go from right to left. Mr. Yonce, 30 seconds to explain why would you vote for or against a minimum wage federally of at least $15 an hour?
We need to require the corporations that are running this country to pay their employees more. $15 an hour is just maybe will squeak by, but it's something. It's a start, it's a baseline, and that's where we need to go.
Mr. Murchison Rivera.
Oh, I will 100% agree to that because no matter what state you go in, the cost of living is going up. And so the federal minimum wage will make sure that these states will abide by at least the minimum wage that they have to abide by, and then they can go higher than that. But I want it to be more than at least $20 an hour right now in all states.
Okay, so more than 15, you'd go to 20. Mr. Cooper.
Yes, I would support a $15, and I don't know that there's some legislation right now in D.C. right now, Capitol, that is being stalled. That there are some congressmen and women that want $25 federal minimum wage. But the thing is that I think about our small businesses. We have to make sure that our small businesses can gradually get to a federal minimum wage increase and not just do it off the front, because you don't want to punish the small businesses that don't have the budget like the corporations.
All right. Sorry, Mr. Morgan.
You know, your previous question had asked, we talked about the disparity between the $63,000 the household's making and the $83,000 they need. $15 is not going to get them there. $20 is not going to get them there. We need to look at a stair-step program where we get to $30 by 2032, 2033. It needs to be a stair-step program that gradually goes up. The minimum wage was originally intended to be a minimum living wage. It has now become a minimum, like, third household income, you know, source
Second
of
job,
third job.
Yeah.
Job. That's where we are right now, and so we've got to get way beyond that.
So I'm going to give Mr. Morgan another 20 seconds here. You're a business owner.
Yep.
Do you like when government tells you you have to pay a certain amount to your employees?
I like when the people that are employed are able to live off of the money that they're paid. And to my knowledge, I don't believe I've ever employed someone where they were only making $14 an hour, nor do I have any intention to employ somebody who's only making $14 an hour.
All right, very good. You know, a lot of the things all four of you gentlemen talk about, you kind of agree on. You have different takes on how we approach certain problems. This is the question where I want to find out where you're really different. We're going to start with Mr. Yonce. I want you to tell me how you differ in what is typical Democratic thinking. Any view, any plank in the platform for the Democratic Party. I want you to tell me how you are a different kind of Democrat. Go ahead.
Well, I grew up here. I've spent my entire life in this district, in a very red district. To say where I differ as a Democrat, you know, I think it's right now the fact that we don't want to go to the other side of the aisle to have conversations. We see the other side as being just completely different, that we do not align, and therefore we're not going to have conversations, and that I do not agree with. I think we need to step across the aisle. I think we need to have long, deep conversations about where we have gone wrong and divided as a country. I think that is the first main thing we need to start doing, and I'd wish the party would grasp that more.
All right, Mr. Murchison Rivera, how are you different from most Democrats?
Well, most Democrats will try to stick to the status quo. I'm kind of different because I see the priorities that the people need, and I stick to my guns. Yes, we need transparency. Yes, we need some kind of coercion, but the truth is sometimes it's not going to get there. And things like healthcare and affordability is some of the things that I can't negotiate with. We can come to a bipartisan agreement, but as we see on the other side, it's not going to come to that sometimes. And so I'm a different kind of Democrat because I keep fighting what I believe in, and I won't give up on that. No matter where we at, no matter who, no matter what, I'm gonna stick to my guns and make sure we get people the things that they need in this country.
All right, Mr. Cooper, how are you different than traditional Democratic thinking?
I will work with anybody. I will talk to anybody, and that's what makes me the difference is because I know that the people in Florida 6th District are dependent on me to make sure that I make their life a little bit better. And so I think that makes me different from any Democrat because I have done it now. In my nonprofit world, as being the CEO for a nonprofit, I had to go to Tallahassee and work with Republicans to make sure we get stuff down for people in recovery. And I'm willing to do that when I get to DC, and that makes me different. I don't do the dividing the fighting because that's not going to help the people in Florida 6th District to have that division politics. So I think just me working with people from the other side and coming to agreement to really bring back and to help the people in Florida 6th District, I think that's my difference.
All right, Mr. Morgan.
So a couple of things. I'm an entrepreneur and a brewer. There's not a lot of brewers running in this country that I'm aware of. And then I think more importantly, I'm a fiscal conservative. And that is not, I'm not a democratic socialist. I will not describe myself as a democratic socialist. And I believe that there's a bit of an overreach going on right now in that side of the party. So I believe in balanced budgets. I believe in reducing the federal deficit. And I believe that we have to live within our means. I think that's what we need to do. That's what I've had to do in running businesses over the years. We have to live them. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we have to live within our means.
All right, very good. I want to turn to the coastal parts of the district. An awful lot of money has been invested in recent years for coastal renourishment. This year in Florida, Senate Bill 320 was passed and signed into law, and it's going to invest money in what are called living shorelines to use more natural vegetation to protect our beaches instead of spending millions of dollars every year to just dump more sand onto the beaches next to people's homes. This living shorelines approach, is this the right approach for District 6? And Mr. Cooper, is that something that you would even file a bill on to provide more money for Florida's coastal areas?
Well, that's near dear to my heart because I had the opportunity when a lot of these hurricanes came and flooded out the areas and destroyed. I was the one sitting in the disaster centers looking at these people come in and asking for help for FEMA. So it's personal for me. And first thing I do, Greg, is get with the state and then talk to the county commissioners of the coastal area and see what they need. And then to hear from them, because I hate when top down. You need to go bottom up and see what the community need. And if that's something that the county commissioner or the city council want, then I will make it happen up in DC. But first of all, we need to hear from the local leaders and see what they want for that piece of legislation.
All right, Mr. Morgan, I believe a couple of years ago, St. Augustine was talking about how high they had to make seawalls to handle rising waters and stuff like that. But obviously the beaches are the larger part of Florida's coastline. The living shorelines, dumping more sand, some other kind of thing. How do we protect our communities along the coast?
So this is a particularly apropos question for me because I live on a barrier island on the beach. So I live on Hammock Island off of Palm Coast. And so this is an issue that we deal with on an ongoing basis. The living shoreline is a very good approach. It needs to be done in conjunction with buried seawalls. That's the government project that's going on right now in the Flagler Beach area. But at the same time, there's other things that we're not doing. We need to rapidly expand sewage treatment plants in areas near the water because right now what happens is with all that septic and with all the wild animals, the number one contaminant on most of our barrier islands is feces. And we've got to get that out of the environment. So and we also have to bring the sand in from directly off the coast so that the sand that we're putting in is the same type of sand as what's being used on the beach originally.
Yeah, this is something that New Smyrna Beach has been doing in phases along the South Volusia. I
can look out sometimes and see the ship out there pulling the sand up that they're going to bring in. Yeah, it's important.
All right, Mr. Yonce, are we on the right course with our living coastlines, or should we just go back to dumping sand in, piping it in from a mile offshore, or something else in your view?
The problem is we started this now. So once we start building the seawall, which we have across Flagler and Volusia counties, you're now stuck. You're now in a position where we're fighting Mother Nature, and it's going to be a constant battle of renourishment and renourishment because that water is just beating up against that seawall over time. So this will be something, and if you look at the long-term money or the expense for these projects, it goes up from maybe 40 million at the beginning up to 100+ million after 10 years because there is this constant need for adding either vegetation or sand. The problem is we're already in this. We're already kind of stuck to this, and the areas that we do not protect are now going to be eroded even faster. And we're seeing that in St. Johns County and Summerhaven, to where this area is just now bombarded with erosion every year because we have seawalls all around it. I would like to see money then invested in some of our interior communities, like Midtown Daytona, that floods after every storm, right? That's where some money and prioritization needs to start going.
All right, Mr. Murchison Rivera, your take.
Absolutely, I agree. I lived in New York City and Rockaway Beach majority of my life, and I was directly impacted by Hurricane Sandy. I think the seawall is a great thing, but the erosion should have been taken care of a long time ago. It's like trying to fix something that's been broken a long time that's now rusted. But once we get that, constant adding of sand is not going to do nothing for us. I think we need to get rid of like the flooding, make sure we get that taken care of first, because what happened where I lived at Rockaway Beach, the flooding pushed the seawall back down into the sea. So we need to take care of that. We need to strengthen our dunes. We need to strengthen the water supplies around it and make sure that we're taking care of Mother Nature for she can take care of us. But we need to constantly do it, not once every 10 years. We need to constantly monitor these things and get it repaired as it's getting broken, not waiting until another major hurricane coming saying, let's fix it now.
All right. I want to talk about transportation. Right now, Florida is a donor state. We get about 93 cents on the dollar back, sometimes 95 cents on the dollar for the gas tax money that we send to Washington. We obviously have I-95, we have US 1, we have major US thoroughfares that are the state of Florida's job to maintain, but there's not an endless supply of money there. Tell me, we'll start with Mr. Yonce. What exactly, would you file a bill to mandate that every state gets back every penny that it sends to Washington?
Yes, we need to get our tax money back home. And yes, with the gas tax, we should be getting every penny that we spend. When I look at the projects that are happening right now, and I look at A1A that's going across in Volusia County where I live, that project has been redone now 2 to 3 times. And that is a state-funded project from the gas tax, but yet they pave a section, and then they realize, oh, a mistake was made, and now we need to repave it, redo a design. It's flooding now. Okay, we need to add more drainage. We need to be more efficient with our money that's being spent as well. That's a huge concern. Yes, bring tax money back home, but also make sure we're spending it in a wise way and not having to do work multiple times.
All right, Mr. Cooper.
Yes, sir. I do believe that all that tax money need to come back to the state, because if it's, you know, like my agenda is how it's going to benefit the people and you know, the most frustrating thing, Greg, that I see is I do a lot of traveling, and I can start seeing the gas prices go down when I leave Florida, where they go down when I leave Florida, and then when I come back, the gas prices, as far as I get south, I see them going up. Mm-hmm. And so I think about the people of Florida 6th District is how can me as a congressman relieve some pressure? And that may be one way if we could get the money come back to the state that can give the people of Florida 6th District some relief. And so yes, I agree with that.
All right, Mr. Murchison Rivera, do you think we should get dollar for dollar back?
Well, I don't think the whole thing. What people fail to realize is that we have federal highways that's in the state of Florida that also needs to be taken care of, that also get torn up by constant everyday driving. Do I think we need to bring more back home? Absolutely. But we got to also realize that a lot of these programs that Florida get money for is from the federal government. And I think everybody should pay their fair share, especially if you want something in return. What my job is when I get to Washington is make sure we get more of that money home. But I don't think we should completely stop, funding, giving money to the federal government because we want to bring every single dollar back home, especially where there's federal highways that we also drive along in Florida.
And to clarify, I'm not suggesting that we stop sending money that way. The question is, should we be getting 100% of what we send to them back for our state and not sending it to other states?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but we also have to take care of these other states that don't got a lot of funding like us. I mean, we are the United States of America and not the United States of Florida. So we can help everybody and just be happy and just make sure everybody has a good cost of living.
All right, Mr. Morgan, clean this up. Here you go, last one.
So I appreciate the question, but I think the answer lies in a different area. There's a gentleman named Rick Scott who's currently one of the senators from our state, used to be the governor. And when he was governor, there was an opportunity for us to take money for high-speed rail. And he turned that money down. And within 45 days after leaving office, he invested in Brightline. That is that's a very big red herring for me. But I think it shows that what we really need to do is to get all these people out of all these cars, and we need to do something about public transportation. And we need to make it, and we've all talked about this in some of our previous forums, we're very much lacking in public transportation in this state, and I think that we would find that we'd be way more efficient at addressing the issue that you're bringing up with better public transportation than we would whether we get exactly 100% back on the vehicles that people are driving around in, with usually 1.2 person per car.
So if I understand, you're saying if we got 100% back, a percentage of that would be invested in public transportation.
Correct.
As opposed to roads.
Correct.
All right, very good. We've come to the end of our time, gentlemen, so I'm going to give you each a minute for a closing statement. Mr. Murchison Rivera, why don't you lead us off there?
Of course. Thank you, Greg. Thank you for the time and thank you for having me here. Listen, we got a very important decision to make this coming up election, and I believe I'm the best person to represent you guys in Washington. We need somebody in Washington that's going to be strong and stand up for this community. A lot is going on right now between affordability, health care, and just somebody that's going to stand up and fight for this community. And I believe I'm the best person there to do that. So if you guys want to help us out and join up, you can look me up on all the social media and join in our team, and let's get this done.
All right, Mr. Yonce, 1 minute, please.
Yes, thank you for this. Thank you. I've spent nearly my entire life in this district. I know the people here. I know how hard they work. I know how much they care for their families. And I know how much they want government to simply just work for them again. Every day I'm knocking on doors and I'm meeting people, and some think differently than I do, and that's okay. That is fine, because that's what makes our country strong. The key is that we need to agree on how people are treated, and that we are working towards a common goal. No one should ever have to go between paying rent and having actual rights. The future I'm fighting for is a district that we can all afford to live in. Where seniors can retire with dignity, where our veterans have more than just an empty promise, and where our children have a bright future. We can get there, but only if we put people ahead of politics. I am Eric Yonce, and I will give us the representation that we all deserve.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cooper, 1 minute, please.
Thank you. My life has prepared me for this moment. As a Marine, I learned service. Through recovery, I learned resilience. As a nonprofit leader, I learned how to solve problems and bring people together. If you want a congressman who is ready on day one and will put people over politics, I'll be honored to earn your vote in this August 18th primary. Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Morgan.
So it seems like we're in a strange time right now. Zombie movies, apocalyptic movies, you see survivalist themes in television shows. And part of that is a product of this divisiveness and this disconnect that we have in our society right now. And one of the reasons that I got into this race in the first place is because I felt like there's something that we can do before we get to the edge, that we can step back from the edge and we can do something that can give us courage and can give us solace moving forward. And I think a debate like this and the discussion that we are having as a group is a good way to move in that direction. And the other thing, while I've got a little bit of time left, we haven't talked about Randy Fine enough today. Randy Fine is the congressman without constituents. And what I mean by that is constituents mean part of the same whole. He lives in District 8. We're running in District 6. We live in District 6. We are not his constituents. Randy Fine, when he gets his ballot, his name is not on it. So just think about that for a minute. He can't vote for himself. That's where we are with Randy Fine as our incumbent politician for this district.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. These are our Democratic candidates in Congress District 6. It covers a huge area. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts and ideas and what your priorities are if you are elected. And certainly, good luck to all of you. That primary is August 18th. And we appreciate you watching WESH 2 News and WESH.com and our ongoing series of Commitment 2026 debates.